Namaste all. My Atma Pranams to Brahmarshi Pitamah Patriji. My dear friends, my dear masters, and my dear gods. Today we are going to talk about another interesting and important and most relevant topic for the current working professionals, mid-aged adults, that is, making friends with fear. Actually, I am presenting this topic after I got some requests from some of the meditators like Kotigar here and also a few others who are offline today. First, let me spend a few minutes on the relevance of this topic for this population like you. Like most of you are all working adults, working professionals, having family life. Why this topic is particularly relevant for the people like you. Fear is a common emotion that we all know. The emotion of the fear is experienced by almost everyone, starting from a newborn kid till a dying adult who lived more than 100 years. So the fear is common for the people of all ages, from infant to dying adult who crossed even more than 100 years old. Why universe created fear? You can call the universe, or you can call God, or you can call divinity, or you can call Paramatma, whatever you call it as. Why the fear was created? What was the intention of the universe for the creation of the fear? Is fear good or is fear bad? We are going to talk about it in a minute. The intention of the fear is good. How? If you observe the fear in the animals or in the primitive human beings like cavemen or apes or chimpanzees, if you understand why the fear was created in the beginning was to face the threats of life. The fear was created to face the threats of life. When the animals are attacked by their predators, or when the cavemen were attacked by their enemies, or they were attacked by the natural calamities, to face those enemies, predators, or natural calamities, the fear was generated inside. What does the fear do? The fear generates a mechanism called fight or flight response. Fight or flight response. So whenever a threat comes to the victim of the ancient caveman or developed animals, the fear develops, which is nothing but an emotion develops inside them, and it creates a fight or flight response. What does it mean, fight or flight? That means when the threat comes, the victim has only two options: to fight the threat and defeat the threat. But if the threat is too big to fight, then the second alternative is to flee from there, to run away from there, to fly out from there. So there are the two options for the victim when it is attacked by the threat: fight or flight response. How this fight and flight response are happened in the body, there is a medical science involved in it. When the threat occurs by a predator or an enemy to the victim, in the victim's body, a number of hormones called stress hormones are produced. The names of the stress hormones are adrenaline and epinephrine. You all might have heard about this too. When these stress hormones are developed inside the body, when the threat occurs, they make certain changes in our body. They make the body ready to fight or flight mode. These hormones make the heart rate faster. These hormones make the blood pressure increases. And these hormones make the blood supply to the GI tract, the digestive tract decreases. These hormones make the blood supply to the muscles of the arms and the legs increases. Blood supply to the brain and the eyes increases. Make the eyes wide open. Pupils are dilated to make awareness, to get alert, to look at the things around and face the enemy with a wide open eyes. Because to fight or flight, we use arms. So we need arm muscles to be very strong to fight. So that is the reason these stress hormones increase the blood supply to the arms. But if you want to flee away, or if you want to fly, if you want to run away, you need more blood supply to the legs, muscles of the legs. So the more blood supply will come to the muscles of the arms and the muscles of the legs. Now, the digestion is not a priority at this time. So there is a least blood supply to the digestive system. And your heart rate, when you run, you have to increase your heart rate. That's why heart rate increases. And the blood is rushed to the muscles, the blood pressure increases. And then the fight or the flight response started. And whether the fight or win over the enemy, or if we can't win over the enemy, the flying out takes place, the fleeing takes place, the flight takes place, the escape from that victim took place. Once this flight and flight response is over, then the victim is back to the normal, all the stress hormones come back to the normal stage. This is how the fight and flight response occur in the cavemen or in the animals. That is the reason why, to escape from the threats, to escape from the enemies, this fear response was created by the universe. But now, as human beings evolved, as industrialization increases, as our living standards increases, and when you are our own houses, and when we have own communities, now the need for that kind of fight and flight response is not needed to this current population, because we don't have that kind of threats to this developed and human population. But even though the intent of creation of this fear response is not the same, but the content of the fear had changed into the different direction. The fears that a caveman used to have, or the animals used to have, are different from the fears that the current generation and industrialized generation are different. But even though it is different, that fear, emotional fight and flight response is the same. Only the content of the fear is changed, but the intent of the fear response is the same in the human population. Then, now, the human does not have the on and off flight response like in a caveman or in an animals. The humans always feel some kind of threat in the form of fears, which we are going to talk about future, and always has some kind of fear they always have in their minds. They always live with some kind of fears in their mind. So in the previous cavemen and the animals, the fear comes and goes, and the flight and fight response comes and goes. But now in the modern man, the fear is there always in somewhere or the other. So the flight and flight response, instead of going and coming and going and coming, it is always there in a certain level. So what happens? The flight and flight hormones keep at the higher level in the population because of the constant fear response. So their blood pressure is elevated at the higher level. Your heart rate is always elevated at the higher level. And their blood supply to the digestive system always at the lower level, as in the fight and flight response. Their blood supply to the eyes and the head and the brain, to always thinking and always looking at the computer and the more. And the reason why the most of current population gets the high tension, high blood pressure, hypertension at a very young age. And why the working population and modern generation are getting heart problems at an younger age. Why they have developing digestive problems and gastrointestinal problems. And today I have read in a newspaper that in a younger general population, Colorectal cancer is getting on an increase because of all these stress levels. All these changes are occurring in this current generation because the constant fight and flight response, because due to the constant elevation of the stress hormones in the body, because of the fear, which I am going to talk about in a minute, and the current working population are always in some kind of stress and always in the mode of fight and flight response, having a fear inside them. That is the reason why this particular topic is very, very important for the people like you all. And what can we do about it? This is the importance of today's topic. Because of the vastness of the topic, because of the vast content of the topic, I may not be able to complete this topic today. Maybe I may have to continue next week also, but I will try to stop this topic at an appropriate level where we can continue on next week. Okay. Now we talked about the relevance of this topic for the current working population like you are. And then, what is this fear? Fear is an emotion that converted into thought, and that is converted into feeling. Emotion, thought, and feeling. And in the fear, there is involvement of three times: past, present, and the future. The fear is linked to this past, present, and the future. How it is linked to the past is always fear is in response to some past learning that was learned in the past. And you are thinking about fear now. You are thinking about the fear now. Actually, the fear is about something that is going to happen in future. So your fear is based upon an experience of the past, thinking in the present about the future. So in this fear, all past, present, and future, the three kinds of times are involved. Now, is the fear is truth or not? In a spiritual language, there are three kinds of things are explained. One is satyam, number two is asatyam, number three is mithya, truth, untruth, and the myth. Satyam means, that is, truth means, which is present all the time. It was present there, it is present today, it is present tomorrow. The good example of the truth is sky or the space. The space is present yesterday, space is present today, and space will be there tomorrow. There's a good example of truth or satyam. And asatyam, it is never there. It was not there in the past, it is not there now, and it will not be there in the future. What is an example of that one? That is called as rabbit horn. Rabbits never have a horn. So a rabbit horn was not there in the past, a rabbit horn is not there now, and the rabbit horn will not be there tomorrow. The rabbit horn is example of the untruth or asatyam. Now coming to the third one, Mithya or myth. What is that? It appears as if it is present, but in reality, it is not there. It appears as if it is present, but in reality, it is not there. Example, mirage, Yandamavi. It appears as if there is a water in the desert, but when the camel goes there in the fetching the water to that mirage, there is no real water. But is the water there? Yes, I see that. So it is appear as if it is present, but it is not there. The fear also belongs the same category of mithya. Okay. Now let's go forward. When you talk about fear, we all experience three kinds of fears. You may have a multiple hundred types of fears, but if you understand the three fears that I talk about, I'm going to talk about in a second, we can put all the fears in one of these three boxes. Most of the fears can be put in one of these three boxes. Most of them. Number one is fear about body. Number two is fear about beings. And number three is fear about things. Fear about body, fear about beings, fear about things. Whatever you fear, you may have the fear. You can bring and put that fear in one of these three boxes: body, beings, things. For example, what are the examples of the fears of the body? The most fearful fear of the body that we all experience is death. The second example of the fear of the body is the sickness. The third example of the fear of the body is the old age. Death, sickness, and old age are nothing but fears regarding the body. What are the fears related to the beings? Either animals or human beings. They are fears related to this. In the pets, in relation to the pets, dog, your cat, it may die, it may get loose, or it may flee from your home. That is the fear that you always have. And fear of the losing people. You may lose your spouse, you may get divorced, and you may lose your children. Your children may go away tomorrow or after they get married. And you may have a problems, fear of breaking relationships. And you may have a problem of breaking the relationship with your boss, and you may get fired. Like these kinds of fears that are related to the beings. And the third kind of fear, that is nothing but things, the fears in related to the things. That means you may lose your home, you may lose your car, you may lose your job, or you may lose your money. Somebody might steal your gold that is there in your home. Like that, fear of losing things. Body, beings, things. I am not saying all, that most of the fears that we all have can be arranged in one of these boxes. After understanding this much, now we are going to the next heading, origin of fears. When did we develop these new types of fears? The only fear that a primitive caveman and the animals have is only fear of survival, fear of the threat for the survival. But now we have all different new kinds of fears. Where did these fears get their origin? Where are these fears are located? How these fears entered in our mind to start with? The home of the fear is our mind. The home of the fear is our mind. When did we develop thus this new kinds of fear? I'm not talking about primitive fear of survival. I am talking about the new fears that we just talked about, fears of body, fears of beings, fears of things, etc., etc. Until 5 years of age, till that time, we have really lived our life. We enjoyed our life. We had a perfect joy in life. We had a perfect bliss in life. The reason is we are least in ego during those 5 years of life. And that's why we call up to 5 years the children are God, because their ego is at the least point up to 5 years. Once the children cross their 5 years of age, then they start developing the ego. Then the conditioning of the fear start in the mind. The conditioning of the fear start in the mind. Who conditions that mind of the 5-year-old children after they cross that 5 years of age? The parents condition the mind of the children. We always use it to say, hey, in Telugulo boochodu vastadu pattukoni potadu kabatti ganaka tinakapothe, if you don't eat, the ghost will come and catch you. This is one small example we use it to tell our children how we condition and inculcate fear in our children, like parents. When they go to school, in the school, because of the rules and the discipline, they inculcate and condition the fears of these little children once they start going to school. And when they go to the society, their society, they start with norms and norms and rules and regulations. Then the society some conditioning and put some fears in the minds of the children. And as a children, we are bombarded with so many fears, with a kind of conditioning that comes and flood our minds by the time we become 10 or 12. Who are the conditioning masters who are putting those fears in the minds of the children, and who put the fears in our mind when we were children? Our parents, our school teachers, and the society that was there around us created that fear. So this fear is nothing but conditioning. To prove that it is conditioning, I would like to explain a small story how the conditioning can create a fear in the minds of human beings. I am telling you a small story. There was a king, and one day he got a thought in his mind, a funny thought. And he called all his ministers, and he told the ministers, I got a curious idea in my mind. In our country, in our kingdom, I would like to see a goat which does not like to eat the green grass that is put right in front of the goat. Can anybody find that goat in my kingdom? All the ministers told, King, it is impossible for a goat to resist eating a green grass right in front of her mouth. It is impossible to find. Then one of the ministers, like Birbal or Tenali Ramakrishna, whoever it is, he rose, King, give me 1 week's time. I will bring you a goat to you, which does not eat the green grass, even if you put right in front of your mouth on the ground. I will give you 1 week's time. Okay, take 1 week's time. He gave the 1 week's time. That the minister went to a village and found a goat and brought the goat to his home. And he put a post and he tied the goat with a rope, and then he brought a bundle of green grass and put right in front of it on the ground. And when you handle the goat, you have a small stick, right? We carry small sticks when we handle the cattle. So he had a small stick. Whenever the goat comes down and bends his head and tries to eat the green grass, he hits the goat in the back with the stick. As soon as he gets the beating, it withdraws back and don't eat the grass. Again, after some time, when it goes and he tries to eat the grass, again he hits the back of the goat with the stick. Again, the goat comes back. He keeps doing it. So whenever the goat gets beaten, it stops getting towards the grass. After doing three days, then he tried to, instead of hitting and go in front of the goat, as soon as she tries to eat the grass, he lifts the cane into the air as if he is going to hit. And as soon as he sees the stick rising into the air, oh, I am going to get a beating, so it withdraws. So as soon as he lifts it withdraws. It doesn't eat. After doing it 1 or 2 days like that, third day, he goes and he used to keep that stick just next to him without even rising, holding in his hand stick, and sits right in front of her. And whenever the goat wants to eat it, he just keep it and showing his stick that he is carrying. As soon as he sees the stick, it withdraws from eating. So he does not have to hit now. He does not have to raise the stick. All he needs to carry a stick with him, seeing that stick, that goat will not eat the grass. 1 week over, and he went and told the king, King, I am ready with the goat who does not eat the green grass. Then the king arranged the court, called all the ministers, and the goat was tried in the middle of the meeting hall with a post. And then he was just carrying the stick with him, not doing anything with it. And he asked somebody to go and put a bundle of the green grass in front of him. Then the goat was seeing the stick he was carrying, and it did not eat. And everybody was successfully had a big claps. And we found a goat that does not eat the grass. What happened? What did that minister did? He created fear inside the goat's mind, and he conditioned the mind of the goat. He created fear towards the grass. That's what exactly do. That's exactly what we did, what we were done by our parents, by our school teachers, by the society that we dealt with. That's what we do to our children. That's what we do, their school teachers do to our children. That's what the society do to our children, to create and to condition fear in their mind. This is a story. Now, I am going and but the problem is when the children have fears, but at the child level, their fears are appropriate. Their fears are reasonable. Their fears are explainable. Their fears are justifiable. But when they grow up, when the children go and become adults, but the same fears that helped them when they are in the children will become the detrimental if they carry the same fears when they become the adults. For an example, if the same kid, let us take an example of the same kid. If the same kid continue to develop the same fear, when she becomes adult, when she gets married, and when her husband come and hugs her and try to kiss her, if she catches the same fear that only my mother and my father only can do it, nobody else can do it, if she is the same way, what would happen? So we always carry the fears that we were conditioned by in the children. But as we become the adults, we have to reanalyze our fears. We have to reprogram our fears. And we have to restructure our fears. We have to rearrange our fears for us to become a successful adults, and we become a creative adults once we grow. That is the responsibility that we have. We have to reprogram our fears that we carry right from our childhood. So that is how we we have to reprogram our fears to become a successful human being. What are the main three fears that human beings have that I told you? Death, sickness, and the old age are three great fears that we all have. And what I also tell you is, whatever fear that you have, if you keep questioning that fear, why that fear, why that fear, why that fear, it finally ends at the one place, that final place, that fear ends is nothing where death of the human being. How these fears affect us in our life and how we can come out of those fears is very, 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 very important. And I would like to explain my life story, how I got into these fears of in my life. When I was around 6, till that time I didn't understand the meaning of the death. And nobody died in our family. Our 12-member family. We have 12 kids to our parents. And our the least, I am the baby of the family. I am the last one of the family. Till that 5 or 6 years, nobody in the family died. So I did not really have any experience of death or witnessing the real feeling of the death till that time. At that time, the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India in 1964, he died, which was the big news in the newspaper, and everywhere everybody was talking to it. And I witnessed in the newspapers how he was taken to the place where he was burnt and all that. That created the death experience, a thought of death inside me. And then my father explained me about the death. Then I thought, there's nobody dead in our family. And so he died. So death will become that kind of feeling in the people because everybody was crying all over. The whole India cried when he died because he was the first Prime Minister of India. Then gradually I was grown up. I was a favorite fan of Indira Gandhi. And does Indira Gandhi will die? If the Indira Gandhi dies, what will happen? Then another favorite actor was N.T. Ramarao. And I thought, does N.T. Ramarao will die? What will happen if the N.T. Ramarao dies? And another, my favorite spiritual master was Satya Sai Baba. Does the Satya Sai Baba will die? If the Satya Sai Baba will die, what happens? And the time made Indira Gandhi died, nothing happened. N.T. Ramarao died, nothing happened. Even Satya Sai Baba died, nothing happened. Then I started thinking a little bit more about the death. Whenever somebody dies, then the death started happening in our own family, which have not occurred till now. My mother died. My father died. My eldest brother died. My first sister died. My second sister died. My fourth sister died. My third brother died. Almost 7 people in my family died. And I saw the death of the 7 people in our family. Then I tried to understand the death. Then let us talk about sickness. Nobody was sick in our family till I saw my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and she suffered a lot. I, being a last child of her, I was there most of the time with her and I saw her suffering and dying with ovarian cancer. After that, I saw my eldest sister was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. I saw her suffering with sickness and died of it. Then I saw that my second sister, who was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, suffering with that kind of sickness, finally dying of it. Then I saw my fourth sister, who was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and died of it, and I saw her with my own eyes. Then I started thinking of the sickness that happened in our own family. Then about the old age. When I was young, everybody in our family was very young. Nobody was really old, including my father. And I never saw a person who was the real old in our family. Gradually, the time came. I was the least and the baby of the family. Gradually, my father became old. Gradually, my mother became old. My sisters, brothers, everybody became the old. Now, even I have become the old. And now, our family, 12-member family, all my remaining brothers, all my remaining sisters, sister-in-laws, brother-in-laws, almost 50. We are big bunch of the old people, including me. Now I started thinking of that old age when I saw them becoming old few years ago. And then I started thinking about this death, started thinking about the sickness, just started thinking about the old age. And when I started thinking about this death, sickness, and the old age, I remembered Gautama Buddha, who saw the death, who saw the sickness, who saw the old age, and then took the sannyasa and became Gautama Buddha. When I think back in the similar way about my life, and when I saw the death of my family members, I saw the sickness of my family members, saw the sickness, old age of my family members. Gradually, I started thinking about these unavoidable circumstances in the life, and gradually I turned towards the spirituality. And I joined an ashram where Swamiji can teach me all this Bhagavad Gita to learn and to overcome the fears of this mortalities like a death, sickness, and old age. Now I can understand and connect myself to this fears of death, sickness, and old age and could become over it. And after completing his discipleship, I came to here and I became a meditator under the guidance of, have not seen that Guru, Brahmarshi Pitamaha Patriji, who teaches us Anapanasati meditation, which was originally taught by Gautama Buddha. So almost I felt the same way, whatever and experience that Gautama Buddha had, and I also experienced the same way. Not only me, these kinds of deaths, these kinds of sicknesses, these kinds of the old age, you all might have experienced in every family with no exception. Like the story I told last week about finding a handful of seeds from the home where there is no death, like all of you see. So I also, the same way that I thought about this death, sickness, and the old age, I want every meditator to give a serious thought about the fears of death, sickness, and the old age, and go think about more and more on them, and meditate more and more about them, and learn more and more about the spirituality, and you all can come out of the fears of these things in the same way as Gautama Buddha came, in the same way as I tried to come out, in the same way you all can come out of it. And now, in the next week, I will talk about how we all can come out of the fears of the other things. Like now I talked about the fear of the body, death, sickness, and the old age. But there are some other fears that we need to talk about. How do you come out of the fear of losing people, spouse, children, relationship, breaking relationship? How will you get rid of, overcome the fear of losing things? And there are many, many practical ways, or very, the meditation will help you to come out of these fears. And how meditation will help you to come out of the other two kinds of fears with the help of medical science and the scientific data, I will explain you on the next week. For now, bye for now. and I am ready to take any questions at this time.